Okay, just a quick word to my subscribers. I would like to thank all of you. There's 158 at this point in time. If you really like the content, you figure that other people would also like the content or could benefit from it, do put the word out through your social media contacts and whatnot, so we can get some more people on here. Because we're still a small channel, but I think we could grow to be a big channel. Because I don't want to sound like I'm may sound arrogant or something like that, but I do feel that this content I'm producing is of use, and it is well researched. I do research everything, so it's the real deal in that sense. So, we've been doing some of those topics that people have been suggesting, and we still have a bunch more. It's just, I had more topics than time, but, that's a good place to be, I guess. So we are going to look at things like the videos on tactical versus strategic nuclear weapons and why not use tactical nukes. I want to point out that tactical nukes, the bombs that were dropped at Hiroshima or Nagasaki today would be considered tactical nukes. So, I mean, that's pretty big bang for that. We're also going to do some interesting things. We might look at Tsar Bomb at some point. Have a thing called clinging to the truth. And it sort of point out that I have been criticized for using facts that people may view as inconvenient, and quoting from actual source documents that counter their ideology or traditional narrative. Well, I'm going to talk about that. Well, sorry, I'm a kind of a truth-based person. I don't really have an ideology per se. I just look at facts as best I can. And so look at that. I'm also going to talk about bunkers. I haven't really talked much about those things. I've briefly mentioned Atlas as a good vendor for that, because I tend to view focusing on plan B, which is what if you're away from your bunker and can't get to it in time. Then what? Or I can't afford a bunker, or I have no place to put a bunker. So I talk about expedient sheltering, like in the bottom of underground parkades. But if you can afford a bunker, it's good to have one, and Atlas makes the best. So I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to really just ram home just how bad a way to die that radiation sickness is. People need to really take it seriously. It's not, and this is why you really need to know this stuff and how to survive it and how to avoid it. You don't want to be those idiots wandering around in the fallout you see in the movie The Day After, or blindly listen to some stupid advice from the government and find that you're huddle under your door, which you propped against your wall with your roof blown away and fallout all around you while you're puking your gut when it's coming out both ways. I'm also going to talk about leadership psychology in nuclear war. I briefly touched upon that in my video about that limited nuclear war is an oxymoron. Basically, how the psychology of modern leadership and the kind of people you find in these positions, which is not exactly the best people for it, and all the sycophants and yes men they surround themselves with, yes persons, I should say, to be more correct that way. Leads to bad decision making, and we'll talk about that. And I'm going to look at a question was asked about difference between air burst and ground burst, and for term of survivability and fallout and stuff like that. I mean, I've looked at it a little bit, but I'm going to do it in deep thing. And I look at aftermath of a nuclear war. People saying like, why would I even want to survive it? Well, I've talked briefly about that in the past, but I'm going to look about the reality of it. It's not the absolute obliteration of the human race and all that stuff like that. But I was just listening to the audiobook, which I've actually read the original book, Last Babylon, which actually just really, I think is a fairly good view of what it would be like to ride out a nuclear war in a small town. I've been asked to look at, interpret various technical papers, and I got a bunch of these things too I'm going to look at. And, so things I use as sources for my own videos, but maybe go through the technical paper itself on almost like well, this is what they're saying, and this is what it really means in English. I did this short on, what constitutes a winnable nuclear war. I need to still do a long video on that. I also want to look more at EMP, because I've already done shorts on it, but I want to do it in greater detail. And we'll look at nuclear accidents that have been around. I've already talked about the continuity of government to some extent, but I'm going to go into greater detail. Basically, the government's all about protecting itself, and of course they're big donors, and the rest of us can, die of radiation sickness for all they care. If there's whatever survivors are left, they'll round us up to do all the grunt work, and there it is. And maybe look at the interesting little thing, what they used before Mount Weather, which is Greenbriar. I've talked to Ivan, the creator of the nuclear war simulator. I've interviewed him in the past, but we're going to do a walkthrough of a Ukrainian escalation scenario using the simulator, just to show you how things can really get out of hand fast. And he'll talk through the simulator and give you tips on how to use it, because it is a bit of a learning curve with it. So we're going to look at that. And anything else you guys want me to do or look at, do videos on, please comment below with those ideas, and I will go for it. And again, do put the word out. I mean, it would be great to grow this channel, because I think this information is of use and is very timely in this era we live in. So thank you, and bye for now.